Alexander Phillips. Do I sound like your dad?
A little bit, yeah. Like my mother when I'm in trouble.
Welcome back to YBR Property Insights, mate.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
And you're the principal at PPD Real Estate?
Correct, yep.
And just what area do you cover first?
Our offices cover all the eastern suburbs. I think last year we sold in like 28 to 30 suburbs, so broad section, 500 grand apartments, $26 million houses and everything in between. So we've got a really good spread across what's happening in the market because there's so many different marketplaces and demographics we work with.
Eastern Sydney, though. Eastern Sydney.
Yeah, all east, from the Harbour Bridge to
down to Bondi, down to Coogee.
Vaucluse, Matraville, Paddington, everywhere.
So that's interesting because I want to get a sense from you, mate, what's happening in your neck of the woods in 2024. We'll talk about 2025 in a second. That's more prospective. But if I look back retrospectively, what happened in 2024? What was the experience of the market for you? And then we're talking about a range of properties, as you say, from $500,000 to $26 million. So
we found, the beginning of 2024 was a super strong market. Like as an example, in January, our agency did about $110 million of sales, which is quite strong.
In January 2024?
Yeah, where this year I think it was about 55 or 60, so almost halved, So there was a lot more urgency, buyers wanting to buy, which there always is at the beginning of the year. Like we're seeing that right now. I can talk about that in a minute. But and then sort of as the year went on, I think interest rates started catching up with people. The stock levels grew. It started to change, particularly probably from about August. And the last quarter we found that there was probably, I reckon there's probably price correction in most suburbs around 5%, which hasn't really been reported either. You don't really, if for some reason, the downturn hasn't been reported as much as what we're sort of seeing it on the ground. So that's how we saw 2024. Like we did 648 sales, so a lot of sales across all different price ranges and just over $2 billion of sales. So but it did slow up dramatically in the last quarter.
Can I just unwrap that for a second? So when you say January, that's a lot of sales relative to this year's January, I guess, in a benchmarking sense. But is January normally a really busy month? And
it is. Just everything's like for us, I suppose we're a little bit more modern in a real estate agency approach, how people buy, sell. Like everyone's so digitalized and available these days. There's not really sort of seasonalities around I'm away all of January or, Christmas. Christmas, generally that week is. But people are like, they don't do 4 or 5 weeks holidays. They're here for a week, Japan for a week. They're around, they're off work, they're fresh. We find the energy is very high in January. Like to give you an idea, even our first weekend in February, last weekend, there was half the amount of buyers of what there were in January, where everyone thinks there's more buyers in February because everyone's back from holidays. So, the inquiry numbers this January were double what they were, say, in November, December. The number of buyers at open homes were doubled, but compared to January 24, the urgency was still waning a little bit. Like they were very nervous and still a bit unsure about where the market is until we started rolling out sales towards the end of the month when they could then use those sales as benchmarks as where the market was and where it was heading.
But still lower.
Still lower, yeah.
Still lower.
And there's some properties you've got $1 million gaps on. There's some properties that are selling well. There's no real consistency in the market. It feels though the market will come off a little bit more this year. That's sort of way what we're seeing and what we're predicting.
Would you put that down to the fact that, your vendors, but would you put that down to the fact in terms of the market coming off, the vendors more willing to sell because a lot of vendors borrowed a lot of money to buy, or more money than normally would borrow to buy the property back, say in 2022 when interest rates, or 2021, 2020 when interest rates were like 2% or something. Is there a bit of that going on?
Yeah, a lot of that.
And are we talking about owner-occupiers, investors? What
probably
do you see between the two?
Probably more owner-occupiers, I think. Yeah, they're probably a little bit stretched.
Because investors,
interestingly, our strongest market at the moment is a 1 to 2 million price bracket.
That's where you're getting most inquiry.
We're getting 30 groups through Saturday open homes to 2-bedroom units. Buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we, this week alone, we've sold one for 1.7, 1.6, 800, and all those properties on the market for less than 12 days.
Really?
Yeah.
And are those sales meeting vendor expectations?
A bit beyond.
They're doing better.
Yeah, exactly. We've got houses at the moment that are like 9 to 10, and that's where the vendors are at, but the buyers are like 8.
Right.
So there's almost like there's some properties where we're so far out, you actually should just take it off the market. Like really, like it's not. There's no point battling away for 6 months. It's just such a big gap, and the vendors that don't need to sell probably should. But everyone's living in this hope of, they're more blaming, interest rates are going to drop. There's an election. Maybe it's not the right time. So they're sort of looking for some excuses to get their head around why the price isn't there, which I don't believe in.
And is that's the vendor?
That's the vendor saying that.
And what are the buyers saying? The buyers.
So what we're seeing, the buyer demographic and what they're doing at the moment, their behaviours is they know the market came off last year. They know there's an interest rate cut coming. So they're like, let's buy now before the market might kick again. Because they're thinking, okay, it's definitely coming. Everyone knows at some point this month, next month, in 6 months. Yeah. So they're like, let's get in now before we see another kick. So the buyers they're wanting to buy, but they're still very price conscious. They're not like running away and paying hundreds of $1,000s.
Overs.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not being erratic like they were during COVID.
They haven't seen an overs sale this year yet. Normally you would have seen a few.
So and buyers' behaviour is not like it was a couple of years ago. They thought, shit, I just got to get into the market.
No, there's none of that.
What have you got?
Yeah, and also the problem is the stock level is probably 30% higher now than they were this time last year. Yeah, definitely across most price ranges, most suburbs. So they're like, okay, well, if they don't want to meet me, I'll just wait for the next one. And, so there's that, that knowing that there's a new property potentially around the corner and, it falling in their lap, then they're not being so urgent as well.
Can we flick between owner-occupier buyers and investor buyers? Or do you just do mostly owner-occupier?
No, we do both. Yeah, investor buyers we're finding more in our marketplaces of parents buying it for kids, renting out for a few years. The rental yields probably also why the 2-bedroom unit market's strong is the rental yields are good at the moment.
Are they?
Yeah, they're better than what they have been. Like you're buying something for 1.7, you're probably getting 1,000 to 1,100 a week.
Compared to what?
Probably would have been 900 a year ago. So they're a little bit better.
But the rents haven't gone up, but the price have gone up.
No, the rents have gone up a bit, but the prices have gone up a little bit. But also then your mortgage has gone up, so you're still out of You're still out of pocket, a fair bit,
But those buyers, particularly for parents, they're just getting into the market now because they just take the view over time. They're taking a long view. Over time, it's going to go up.
Exactly, yeah.
And so just on the renter market, is that because more people are selling their homes and now need to rent a place? Is that
there's still that population growth, people moving from this time of year schools, so they're testing out suburbs for renting. They've been relocated, moved back from overseas. Yeah, the rental market is even up to around 3,000 a week. It's still strong. Yeah,
3,000. I guess that's for a house, isn't it?
Yeah. Once you get up to 4 and 5, it's not. But around between 2 and 3 is strong at the moment.
That's pretty normal.
Not normal. No.
2 and 3.
Yeah, but I also think a lot of people have they're reduced from like 4 to 5, and they're going down in price because they're trying to save a bit of money. So there's a few reasons why that's so strong.
So that's what do you think for 2025? Do you think that let's say for argument's sake there is a Reserve Bank change on the 18th of February? The Reserve Bank comes and says like, it's time to reduce interest rates by 25 basis points, and maybe let's say they indicate that there's going to be a couple more rate reductions, which is what the money market's saying. This is all about Reserve Bank language, but let's assume that. Do you think that the buy market will just get off their tush and start buying and just say, my God, we're going to miss out, let's get back to it?
I don't think so, no. I sort of think they're going to be sugar hits for a little bit. I think that you probably need to see 100 basis points for it to really have a big kick. Obviously, you got some major issues with that, with the Australian dollar where it's at. Like it could go down to 55 US. That's going to be an issue with lowering rates. I think if you look at the last, like after the GFC in the 90s when rates were going down, the market was very flat for quite a long time. So we're sort of thinking like this year you might see it go up 2% or down 2%, very sort of flat and probably like that for a while.
Prices.
Yep.
Prices.
Yep.
So are people that attuned to interest rates, are they?
It's all everyone's been talking about. Like, it's just crazy. Like, and I don't, it's not everyone thinks the be all and end all of where the market's going to go. Yeah, it's like every conversation we have with buyers.
But it's only marginal. I mean, like if it's 25 basis points.
It's more the sentiment everyone talks about. Oh, it's better, but interest rates are going down because the economy is also
That's usually the reason.
Yeah. So they have this funny vision of, great, interest rates are going down and let's buy a house. It's just, I don't know. It's how Australians are wired. It's very unusual.
Are you getting in your area, which is east of the harbour, east of the city? Are you getting a lot of inquiry or much inquiry from those people who are sort of upgrading into these suburbs, or what are the reasons people coming into these suburbs?
Yeah, so this time of year, like we had some open homes today. they're already sick of driving their son from Manly to Cranbrook. So like, let's sell there, buy in Bronte or buy in Bellevue Hill. So you do get a lot of that this time of year because they've changed schools and they're like, oh, I can't do this drive anymore. Let's sell and buy. So you do get a high number of that. You also get a high number of expats this year at this time of year because they've relocated in December. And also a lot of the US banks pay their bonuses around in January. It's a pretty big bonus season. And we've found, actually, we've had a lot of inquiries from the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people are coming back, yeah.
Australian?
Yeah, so normally we traditionally get out of Hong Kong, Singapore, London, but we've found just, and probably the dollar, maybe Trump, I don't know, but there has been a slight tick up in that.
Are you getting much of an Asian inquiry?
No.
Is it down relative to previous
It's so
periods?
hard now with double stamp duty FIRB approval.
Yeah.
Like on 10 million, you're paying about 10 to 15% to get into the market. So you're looking at 1.5 million in, it's a big chunk of money. It's not even worth it.
So because that was a big driver in these suburbs for a long time.
Huge driver.
And what about, I've always wanted to ask you about proximity to schools. Is proximity to a school in these suburbs is your area, but is it proximity to school? For example, let's take Scots College. Is it a good thing for people to live in Bellevue Hill, or do people say, no, I don't want to live in the school because it's too busy? I mean, how's that work?
Oh, no, it's just they're the biggest driver for the prices is schools.
Is it?
Yeah, big time. Yeah. And all those private schools, along the harbour, Scots, Cranbrook, Kambala, King Koppel, Askham. Like people actually move out of, say, Bronte to go, I can't drive to King Koppel anymore. Like I'm sure when I went to school, I used to catch 3 buses. I don't know.
Me too. And walk a fair bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's parents and drive, but they're huge drivers. So good schools, and we're seeing other schools now because they're getting so expensive in those areas, and other schools are getting better. Like we're seeing St Catherine's, Waverley getting a big drive as well because and they're in beachside suburbs. So the schools are probably one of the biggest drivers of prices.
Yeah, that's interesting because I would have, for me,
people want to live that near. Like we've got houses that back onto schools and people like it. Yeah.
I would have driven me nuts. Yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to be there. I mean, I just thought that might turn people off, but people want to be right close to it. I guess you got a place in Bellevue Hill. I mean, it's probably a bit of an exception because, and you got Ginnegullah Road and all those sorts of places, which like Kambala Road. Yeah. Like the Packers, still live in Victoria Road. So like, I mean, I guess from that point of view, but I sort of mean closer to the schools. If you're thinking of buying, like if you're thinking of making a good investment, it doesn't matter if it's an apartment or a house, but if you're thinking of making a good investment in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, and that includes Bronte, Coogee, your areas, as well as, the Vaucluse and the Bellevue Hills to the board. What are the sort of amenities you're looking for to make the right decision about what you're buying for the future?
I think,
apart from school.
Good, like the real estate I've always bought, and I feel like I own good real estate, is A-grade streets and aspects. What's
an A-grade street mean? Define
the street appeal, the type of properties within the street, like the consistency of the street. All those sort of factors that come into play.
And what's view or outlook? What's that mean?
View or outlook of Ocean Harbour Park, blue sky. That sort of aspect.
Is it important to be near a shopping centre though? Like, is it important to be close to Bondi Junction?
No, more probably important to be closer to a train line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like so Edgecliff, and Bondi Junction. So parts of Woollahra and Queen's Park always do well because of that. Paddington, Woollahra, Edgecliff do well because of that. Parts of South Bondi do really well going down that Bondi Road corridor because you're close to the beach and into Bondi Junction. So train lines, I always say to people, like if I'm buying like an investment unit and firstly, I always think if you're going to buy an investment, you see yourself, if you have to live in it, would you buy it? And secondly, be close to a good transport hub.
So like, is Bondi Junction a good place to buy?
I wouldn't be buying Bondi Junction because there's too many new builds, too much stock. The prices, we're selling 1-bedroom units that were bought for 1.2 for 900 that were bought 4 years ago. There's too much growth of buildings supply, so no.
And then in terms of these suburbs, Ian, is it better, if you're an investor, to buy an expensive one-bedder or two better for the same price. In other
Definitely.
words,
I look at this. I look at, say, someone like a Chris Gray. He's from Your Empire. His motto was a 2-bedroom unit with a balcony in a small block with a garage. Even if it's a shitty 70s building, you'd rather buy that than a sparkly brand new one better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you got two options with tenants. Like, it's more growth. Yeah, definitely two bedroom rather than a 1-bedroom for same price.
Right. Because notwithstanding the fact that the 1-bedroom might be built in a very shiny looking building, and we see lots of them relative, say, because a lot of the 2-bedders, it could be in an older style building,
but they're more solid. They've got a history. They've got 40 years of strata. They're double brick. They're concrete slabs.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
and people and that particular bit of advice, is that how buyers have been behaving? Do buyers?
Yeah, well, because we also, what I'm saying today is what we say to the marketplace as well. So they listen to us. Yeah.
And final one for you. I mean, it's always not perplexed me, sort of confused me. Why do people pay such huge amounts per square meter in Bondi at the beach, with usually no parking, small joint, and when they could say maybe go to Rose Bay or something like that and get something much bigger near a park or something like that? Well, what is that?
It's like the lifestyle and the busyness and how buzzy Bondi is. Like, I get why they do it. Like, I live in the depths of Vaucluse and it's quiet and like there's nothing out there, which, but that
suits you.
Suits me, yeah. But they want to be there because of that. And it's like, it's one of the best beaches in the world that, offers, it's like a little city now, Bondi too. And there's like 4 or 5 different villages and it's a big downsized marketplace now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, huge. That's all those people paying 50 to 100 grand a square meter are generally 50 to 75-year-old downsizers.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Older people,
because everything's at their doorstep now. Woolworths, doctors, cafes, restaurants, they've had their big house in Vaucluse or Mossman or whatever, and they've moved there.
So what's Alex Phillips going to do? Is he when is he ready to sort of downsize?
No, not for many years.
Not for many years.
No.
And just finally, mate, have you got the same amount of energy that you've always had?
Yes, yeah.
What drives you?
I just love what I do. Yeah, I'm competitive. I love doing deals. It's in my blood.
What most people don't realise, for those of you listening, I often see him here, fully dressed like that, and normally he'd have a jacket on. Looks like he's just jumped off the catwalk, but he's obviously been asleep all night. But at 5:30 in the morning, outside in the coffee shop, getting fed, having his coffee, and I don't know why he's doing it so early. He's usually on his phone, looking at it on his phone, and he's probably, I'd say, of all the real estate agents I know, you are definitely the first to rise. What's that about? Why do you like to start early?
From like when I walk outside and I see my phone I've left out there, I'll have 10 missed calls probably. I get 2-3 hours in the morning. I plan my day. I've got a clear head. The minute I hit 6:30, my phone's ringing. So it's just like and I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night anyway. So
you go to bed early?
Yeah, I go to bed early. I just find morning's the best part of the day. It's no one around, no one to bother me. You actually, if someone asks me a question to review something in the afternoon, I can't. My head's mumbled up. Where morning I'm fresh and I brainstorm a lot of ideas.
And that works for you.
Yeah, it works.
So do you actually take a little bit of time first thing in the morning and actually sit down and plan your day?
Yes, yeah. That's what I'm doing here when I see, just confirming all my appointments, looking at my day. So I've never, and I confirm on my own. I don't have someone else doing it for me. So it's everything just works and it's well oiled. Then there's no issues.
And can you, one more final question for any real estate agent might be listening to this, and any mortgage broker for that matter is listening to this. How important is it to return calls?
Or the number one thing. The most important. I even return when if they don't leave a message, I return every call. Every red dial number that comes up on my phone.
Missed call? As a missed call?
No matter what. Yeah.
Even if you don't know them?
Don't know them, yeah.
Well, and how does that yield dividends to you?
They might have called about an inquiry on a house. They're driving past a signboard, but they live down the road and they're looking at selling their place. You don't know. There's every phone call could be an opportunity.
Oh, mate, I recently quoted, well, I didn't quote you. I referenced you as being someone I've observed as to being, I know you're very successful in what you do, and I can only put it down to the early rising and always, as you said, always planning and always making phone calls. Every time I've ever called you, you've always called back. So, Alex Phillips, thanks very much for coming on, mate.
Mate.
Good
Thank
to see
you.
mate.
You too, mate. That was good. Thank you.